From the other side of the Footlights, here is WHRO FM critic M.D. Ridge.
One can only imagine the conversation. Mr. Cohen, we at the Virginia Symphony have a problem. David Daniels was to perform with us, but he's ill. He was supposed to sing Handel's Dove sei amato bene from Rosalinda. Oh, and also the world premiere of a new commissioned work with his brother Michael, who is our principal cellist. Can you help us out? No pressure. Thus it was that 23-year-old Aria Nussbaum Cohen stepped out gingerly in a walking boot onto the stage at Norfolk State's Wilder Center April 8th, smiling happily. On cue and from memory, he launched into Bertarido's lament, Dove sei amato bene, Where are you, beloved? His extraordinary voice rose to the rafters, beautifully expressing passion and heartbreak with jaw-droppingly gorgeous, long crescendo-decrescendo phrases. Now it's not as though there's a huge core of skilled countertenors, the highest male voice available on short notice, but even if there were, Cohen would still stand out in the same way he wowed them at the Met auditions earlier this year. Cohen returned to the stage for the world premiere of Poems of Life, 12 poems by Judith G. Wolfe, who commissioned a setting by composer Kenneth Fuchs for countertenor Michael Daniels' rich dark cello and orchestra. Fuchs had sent Cohen the music a week before the concert. Fuchs treated the 12 short poems about the loss of a loved one almost as one longer poem in 5 short sections, one easing into another, passing seamlessly through loss and grief to acceptance and peace, an adaptation that made the most of the text. The work began with Cohen singing the first fragment, a cappella, before the cello entered. The contrast between the countertenor's ethereal range and the burnished depth of Daniel's cello was very effective, as was George Corbett's plaintive English horn. Cohen's diction was so clear, even in his highest range, that one almost didn't need the printed text in the program insert. The program's opening work was the Pleasure Dome of Kubla Khan, Opus 8 by American composer Charles Tomlinson Griffiths. Inspired by a Coleridge poem, Griffiths created a fantasy sound in which crashing waves of sound rose and fell. A gentle celesta was paired with long sustained notes in the orchestra, sensuous and bravura at the same time. Very impressionistic, a compelling and evocative reverie. After the interval, Folletta and Karen Filion, VSO chairman and CEO, reminded the audience of the last concert of the season tradition of recognizing musicians for significant anniversaries. Rachel Ordaz, flutist and principal piccolo, and principal timpanist Michael Lobach were celebrating their 5th year with the orchestra. Laura Leisring has been with the VSO for 10 years. Celebrating 30 years were violinist Linda Hurwitz, clarinetist Scott Beyer, cellist Nancy Keevan, percussionist Tim Bishop, and principal oboist Sherry Lake Aguirre. Congratulations to them all. Their superb musicianship enriches our lives. Finishing up the evening was Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky's Symphony No. 5 in E minor. It was a triumph from portentous beginning to fortissimo ending under Folletta's exhilarating baton. The martial first movement began with clarinets, expanding up to woodwinds and sweeping strings, wonderful horns, and animated brass, descended into deep basses and receded into darkness. In the second movement, the French horn melody rose up with a romantic, bittersweet feel, carried along by bassoon and strings into sudden silence. Folletta used her hands to gently gather the music back together after the silence so that the oboe could continue the theme. The tune of that theme has been adapted for modern popular music, so in this context it had a disconcertingly contemporary feel. Third movement was a lovely, bittersweet waltz. Laura Lee Leisering's bassoon was a standout, as were the scurrying strings. The Andante Maestoso finale brought the main theme back like a dark but determined anthem. The tempo increased, the sound became bigger, grander, more energetic with Tchaikovsky's unmistakable woodwinds. Folletta brought out all the work's passion, darkness, and lightness in one sublimely stirring whole. There were standing ovations all round, and one gentleman in the balcony was bellowing excitedly, "Encore! Encore!" A compliment, to be sure, but, sir, they're not repeating any part of this tonight. They're going home for a well-earned rest. From the other side of the Footlights, I'm M.D. Ridge.